Hey guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I'm making this video just to kind of respond to Lanae Stacks because, in a recent video, she decided that it would be a good idea to continue to badmouth me, even though, she knows by her own logic I'm going to respond and say something anyway. I guess she's just caught up in her little delusional fantasy that she thinks, again, that she can say whatever she wants and there's not going to be any response to it, even though this is a public platform. So your guess is as good as mine to how that logic works, but here we go.
Moment like this where we can say what we've been wanting to say. And the stuff don't be funny. I can see if the shit hidden even. It don't even be funny. They ain't never been funny. It's the same question every time they bring up that, well, why can't we say the N word? Why do you want to say the N word? Because it's something in your DNA that tells you it's the same when I told that fucking dude, the fake judge, stop coming over here. Something in his goddamn DNA, he got to keep coming over here. He needs to do it because they don't respect boundaries.
Oh, so you want to talk about boundaries? Okay. So who was the one who doxed Rimrum? Who was the one that said she was going to contact the police because we dared criticize her? Who was the one who demanded that we all stay away from her channel even though it's a public place? Who's the one who has been filing fake paperwork such as false security reports to try and get my videos restricted? Sorry, and when I say security reports, what I actually meant was fake security concerns because she sent a security notice to YouTube saying she was concerned with one of my live streams, and in reality, it wasn't. There was no private information, but she still did that anyway, in the hopes that it would get, it would get, restricted. So, and then this comes after you watched my own posting area, meaning you've been shadowing me and got angry at one of my subscribers mocking you. And you screenshotted that and then went on to claim that you somehow blocked me from your uh, posting area, even though I don't believe I am. But the point is that you are the last person to talk about understanding boundaries because anything that I've said about you is public. Anything that I've ever criticized you about is public. You have gone beyond public and have gone into private. Not myself, mind you, but to other people. And it's not even the first one. Rimrum is not the only one that you have doxed. So somebody who is going to dox other people is not the person who should be lecturing about boundaries because clearly you don't recognize the boundary between private and public. I do, and I've been respecting that. You, on the other hand, do not. And you make up all these words to sound smart. DNA. Oh, this is what happens here. This is what happens here. But in reality, you don't have any education, Lanae. You really don't. Because, first of all, if somebody were to bother to ask you, hey, how does DNA have anything to do with someone's desire to expose you for lying when you were caught lying, you would either A, have no answer, or B, you would provide an answer, but the answer would be it would sound good to the uneducated ear, but in reality, it would just be more nonsense because at this point, this is what's happened to you. When you came onto the internet at first, you were very sophisticated. You had a drama story. You had everything that you thought would make you look like a decent person, and you played the character relatively okay. Then people started seeing cracks in what you were saying, like Money Boy Trey, and then you were lucky enough that no one was taking it too seriously, and then you made the colossal mistake of not only involving yourself against when Marianne was getting in trouble for her deceit, but then you made all these bold declarations. I'm going to do this to her if she doesn't produce this. I'm doing it to defend Lennon. And then when, not even like a day or two later, suddenly, oh, I can't do it, guys. I think she's crazy. I wouldn't feel right with myself if I did it like this. Blah, 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 blah. Excuse after excuse. And then to make it even more clear to everyone that you were full of shit, you went on and adopted Mary Ann's lies. And this is the colossal mistake I don't think you'll ever understand. You were safe. You were fine. Sure, somebody like Moneyboy Trey was calling you out on it, but most people weren't listening. You were okay. You could have just stayed off of having a channel. You could have acted like Sergeant Turd, just popping up periodically and what have you. But no, you had to make your brand because that's what you wanted. You wanted people to start a following. You wanted a cult of Lanae. And, you would have been fine. Even making the channel declaration would have been okay. But then you had to go out and defend a known liar, proving you're a liar yourself. Then, when I ask you some basic questions like, okay, how is there an investigation? You treat all of YouTube, including myself, like we're dummies and can't figure out, oh, wait a minute. If I actually look into the law and actually cite if it can be possible for a federal agent to talk to me during a live investigation as a civilian, and you would have realized, oh crap, if I make up this bullshit, they can find out and then I can get in trouble. You didn't think like that because you thought all of YouTube were dummies. And guess what? We weren't. And we didn't buy your bullshit. And then when I start to show everyone, hey, she's not really representing the law. She's not really, being honest with how of this supposed investigation. She's now backing up lies that we've already exposed. Then you went on to my channel, and your first thing to do was to try to take over a live and try to make it seem like I was not being honest or I was mistaken of some kind. And when that didn't work, you proceeded to, call everybody out on their name, me, Trey, Rimrum, what have you. And then you started, and ever since then, you've just been making claim after claim after claim. Recently it was that you were going to get the police on us for some imagined crime, which you never did. And I know why you didn't. You were trying to psychologically make everyone think, oh, we're going to get in trouble, which we weren't. And then when that doesn't work, you then try to make some of these reactionary videos to make it seem like you can match our energy, but you couldn't even be bothered to address half of what we said. We addressed all of what you said. You couldn't address what we said. And then you just give up because you're lazy. You don't here's the cold hard reality for you, Lene. It ain't the 80s no more. We don't live in the 80s. We don't live in the 90s. We don't live in an era where we depend on leaders for our information. Everybody can use artificial intelligence. Everybody can, conduct their own investigations. The information is out there. I'm sorry. You came at the wrong time of the internet. You might have been better if you had started this shit when YouTube started in 2007 or when, we were all still using dialed up internet like Marianne likes to use. Then you could have had maybe some stance. Maybe you could have gotten away with this shit. But in 2026, I'm sorry, but the people are smarter. And if you're not honest with the people are going to turn on you because they, like you, can access the same type of information that you and I can. And it's funny too because you will say, I did some digging, y'all, and talking as if you're really the only one that can do that, as if no one can use PDFs, as if no one can use Notebook LM, as if no one can use Google AI, as if no one can use, regular, Gemini, for example. Hell, I'll even say it, even though I hate this. Chat GPT. Anybody can do that. You are not the only one. You are not the harbinger of information, and you never will be. And in fact, I would even argue your methods of information are outdated even by internet standards. Just give it up, man. Just give it up. And let's be completely honest, your whole content is nothing. It's virtually nothing. I'll grant you, you can make some interesting posts as far as artistic capabilities are. You know, sometimes they can be genuinely interesting. I think you lack a little bit of imagination, but they can be interesting. But beyond that, what are you really doing? I mean, you say, "Oh, I'm going to produce this, I'm going to produce that." You never produce it. You say, "I'm going to show receipts." You barely show anything at all. You're not even really titling your videos anymore. You're just saying Lanae Stacks, as if we all don't know who Lanae Stacks is. And then when you're doing these live streams, virtually no one is watching. I mean, dude, you mostly just have maybe two people, and only one of them is a regular subscriber. The other is Afro Spengali, and we all know why she's using you. And who knows how long that'll last before she moves on to someone else. There's no content. I mean, all you can do is talk about Umar. And in when you're talking about Umar, it's always the same shit. Oh, he's a deceiver, he's a liar, he's this, he's that. No shit. What substance are you bringing to the table, really? We already know he's a liar. We already hate him. Why do you think he's never on YouTube? Because he knows he's reviled here. He knows. He'll probably say something along the lines of, "Oh, I don't watch YouTube. I have my subscribers show me the YouTubers and what they're doing." Means the same thing, my guy. He knows he's disliked here. He knows that if he ever came directly onto YouTube, he would be roasted the shit out of because everybody knows him on YouTube and everybody hates him. It's why he stays on Instagram or wherever the hell he likes to stay at, and somebody else takes his videos and shows them to YouTube so we can react to them. But he never is on YouTube himself, and he never will be. And let's not forget, you say the reason why you even engaged with your audience, which is why most of them have left you, is because you argued if I actually respond to my audience on YouTube, it will somehow go back to Umar, the very person who you will say you hate him, you didn't have a relationship with, and then simultaneously you will say that you had a love spat with this man, and that you do not wish to, and that you are trying to get his attention. You have this cognitive dissonance where you tell us on one hand he means nothing to you, and then on another hand you'll say you can't help but try to talk to him and expose this man for everything he does. And so, you know, I am not a psychologist, and I am not claiming that on this on any type of medical merit. But I'm just gonna say it how I see it. You clearly have you're either a mentally disturbed woman who cannot perceive reality as it is because you have been making so much erratic behavior that no one can really understand what you're even trying to achieve here now. And anytime you've been approached with criticism, I mean any at all, like for example, there was a guy on your live stream once that, you know, when you were talking about the mom, which was a terrible thing because of how badly you were treating her, you said to her or him, whoever that person was, to get off your panel after he just asked in the form of a question, "Hey, is this even right for us to do?" And you aggressively responded, "You have permission to talk about the mom." And then when you got aggressive with him, cursing at him, yelling at him to leave, you said, and I quote to you, "You wouldn't have gotten as aggressive if he had asked in the form of a question, even though everyone could read the statement that person made, and it was in the form of a question." This is what I mean about the cognitive dissonance and why I think you're mentally disturbed. Because on one hand, you're going to say to us on live, "Hey, yeah, I'm angry at you because you didn't ask me that in the form of a question," and then if you anybody who looks, it was literally in the form of a question, the very thing you said you wouldn't be mad of if it happened. So, you know, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not claiming to have an expert opinion on your mental state, but from my observation and how it looks, you don't have a normal mentality. I'm sorry if that offends you, and I'm open to the idea that I could be wrong, but it's just based on pure behavior that I can make that deduction. And if I am indeed wrong in that regard, then that's even worse because it means you are a cognitively you are a cognitively competent woman, and you still choose to knowingly and willfully act in the most brazen, terrible, uneducated, and frankly unhinged manner that I have literally ever seen. And that is my response to Lanae Stacks mentioning me on YouTube, saying I have something in my DNA compels me to bother her and to not respect boundaries. Fuck you. This is YouTube. Anything you upload, anything you say, anything you do in a public space is no different than town hall. You say something in town hall, I happen to be there, I have a right to respond to what you say, just as you have the right to express what you say. We do not live in a reality where Lanae Stacks has a freedom of speech pass card and only she has it, and anybody else who dares to say something else has to take a red flag and get off the field because you can't handle a little bit of criticism. It's not true, it's not reality, and there's no amount of yelling, cursing, or insulting that you can do that will make me leave or anyone else. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe.